This is The Process Shot. I'm Michael, I'm still grounded, and I've seen Flight Risk, a new documentary feature from directors Omar Mullick and Karim Amer. It follows the same tragedy featured in another documentary I've seen here, that being Downfall, the case against Boeing, detailing the rollout of the Boeing 737 MAX 8 airplane, two of those planes crashing shortly after takeoff, and the subsequent fallout and investigation into those crashes, as well as Boeing's long-term corporate changes that eventually led to the tragedies and hundreds of deaths. Unlike that film, which is comprehensive but made more recently, this documentary presents a more immediate aftermath. Following a number of figures in the days and months after the crashes, from a daughter of a victim to journalists investigating the story, as they and others seek justice and restitution. It's not always that two movies following similar subjects come out in the same year, but at least we can see how they approach the same topics differently. Again, this movie was made as events had been playing out from the perspectives of those affected, in a way that most documentaries would tend to present this sort of real-time narrative. It does keep a pretty decent balance and pacing, taking things a bit slow to get the emotions of its subjects through, and give the audience a more immersive and personal experience. It might result in a less punchy narrative, but with its more focused perspective, it's no surprise that this emotion-driven approach was taken. That doesn't mean it doesn't try to cover everything, of course. It's just more about how it looks at everything and how to cover each individual story in a satisfying manner. Admittedly, there are a few aspects of some of these stories that go a bit underreported, mostly when it comes to legal fights. But I don't think there's too much lost here that couldn't already be inferred. Again, it's less about what has happened and more upon how people were directly affected and hoped to fight back. Capturing these smaller stories as they occurred, rather than trying to keep the bigger picture in sight, and in the end examine the greater implications of these events. That's what the other documentary is for. Creatively, Flight Risk is also a great departure from Downfall, where that film is presented in a traditional and informative manner, with talking heads and a lot of archival footage. This movie is, again, more immersive and in the moment with its approach, with literally closer looks at events as they occur. Handheld camera work is what puts us right next to everybody, of course, with an excellent amount of coverage that captures as many points of view as necessary to get a fuller perspective, which is especially impressive for scenes with a large number of people talking all at once. The editing handles these many perspectives well, compressing individual events and the entire timeline of months and years down to the most essential points. It still doesn't form a very comprehensive picture, skimming through a few details or topics and sticking to the more truly human stories within all of this. But, as I've been saying, if it's a complete story that you want, there's already a film that covers that much more detail. This film works well, not only as a companion piece, but as its own standalone film, presenting a side of the story that may not have ever been given as much attention unless it had a chance to be shared on its own. Flight Risk. Omar Mullick, Karim Amer, 2022. 4 stars. I'd obviously say that it's worth seeing for yourself. Again, it would make well for a double feature. That's it for this review. If you liked it, leave a like. If you have something to add, leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews. It is still a bit weird that 2 documentaries about the same event have come out so close to each other, but I'm not complaining.